Welcome to With the First Pick, where we're going team by team to build a perfect 7-round mock draft. Who is on the clock today? We're breaking down the Baltimore Ravens, their biggest needs, best fits, and sleeper picks that could make their draft. By the time we're done, you'll have a complete blueprint for how they can dominate draft weekend. It's time to get on the clock. Let's build a perfect draft. That's Chris Trapasso. I'm Ryan Wilson. And Traps, the Ravens, in typical Ravens fashion, have 11 picks. 5 of those come in the 6th and 7th round, but first up, pick 27. And it feels like in recent mock drafts that you and I have been part of, defensive back has certainly been a target. You could go offensive line here, even linebacker. There are a number of directions you can go to make this already really, really good team a little better. What are you thinking first up here at pick 27?
Well, even after they picked Nate Wiggins in the first round and got good returns in his rookie season, they have Marlon Humphrey in the slot. They kind of don't have another like surefire, legitimately good outside corner. I don't know if they'd want to go back-to-back first-round corners, but it feels like the most glaring need. I mean, you outlined the other one, so let's see who's available at the cornerback spot to start.
So, right, they signed Chidobe Awuzie. They drafted TJ Tampa last year. He could be a potential guy to slide in there. But as I say that, Suvon Rebel's there coming off the ACL. And by coming off, I mean he's almost should be completely healthy. He suffered in September 24. But Trey Amos, big, strong physical corner. Maxwell Harrison, a little 185-ish, 5'11", 4'29" at the combine. He's a really good football player who has a chance to be a first-round pick. Little Devin Witherspoon vibes for me. Mm-hmm. So, look, man, I'm all about these corners that they're available here. Any of the three, Trey Amos is probably the top of my list because he's healthy and bigger and ball skills. But Harrison also feels to be more in the Nate Wiggins mold frame-wise. Yeah, so I don't know if you want to go in a different direction there, but also a great pick.
Yeah, Hairston plays a lot like Wiggins in that they play bigger than their size as tacklers. So I don't know if, like you're saying, the Ravens want, like, that's the prototype that this new defensive staff wants, or they would want something to complement that. I have Rebel graded higher than anyone else here, but like you're saying, even though the injury, the ACL is probably almost fully healed or will be by the season, that is probably a little bit of a red flag. So Trey Amos, I think, would be probably the safest pick because he has the SEC experience, the size, good testing numbers, good tackler, ball skills. He kind of feels like that well-rounded corner that the Ravens usually like to gravitate toward.
Yeah, I think so as well for the reasons you laid out. Jackson Dart told us at the Combine that he was the best corner he faced in the SEC and obviously saw him every day. So that's good enough for me. I would imagine it's good enough for Baltimore, at least in their mock draft here. So cornerback, check. 10 picks to go.
guard edge, maybe? Guard edge, D-tackle?
Yeah. So, right. So they're at pick 59 here. We're at the bottom of the second. Offensive line. They have Voorhees, who suffered the ACL, I believe, during his pre-draft process, so they sort of stowed him away. Daniel Faalele could be an option to replace at right guard. They re-upped Ronnie Stanley, and they have Rosengarten, the right tackle last year, who was really good, second-round pick out of Washington, and I think it's only going to get better. But I'm all about the interior offensive line here. Jared Wilson's more center than guard. Tate Ratledge, I'm a big Tate Ratledge guy. I don't think this is too rich here in the second round, but I don't know. What are you thinking, Traps?
Yeah, I think Tate Ratledge kind of feels like that Baltimore Ravens blocker in that he's a little taller and probably plays with a higher center of gravity than they would like. But at Georgia, they were running the football throughout his entire career there with the Bulldogs. And we know that they're going to do that a lot with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So you're right in that they planned ahead for the future really well with the Andrew Voorhees pick in 23, and he played well last season. But to lose Patrick Mercari, I think to raise the floor of the interior, that is very important for this team that's going to run it maybe more than any other team in the NFL. I don't think Tate Ratledge from the big school staying in the SEC again would be too early here in the second round.
I love it. 2 SEC guys in back-to-back picks, 2 guys that can be immediate contributors. Feels like sort of how the Ravens like to do things. Get guys that can play and play early and then be really good once they get on the field. Next up, pick 91.
Do you hate wide receiver here?
I do not. I mean, they signed DeAndre Hopkins, but Trey Hopkins is probably a one-year sort of situation. Obviously, Zay Flowers is their number one. Rashad Bateman had scored a ton of touchdowns a year ago, and you could even argue that tight end is sort of where that offense runs through. So I am not averse to getting some playmakers here on the outside. Sevion Williams, we haven't talked a lot about in these perfect drafts. He's a wide receiver who moved to running back, sort of a Cordell Patterson type, do it all. He's 6'5". He tests through the roof. He struggles to catch the football consistently, and I think that's why they started using him in different ways at TCU. I don't know if I would take him here. Isaiah Bond is interesting. Tess Johnson is interesting. Isaiah Bond is probably, this feels like his range. I think there's some maturity concerns when you talk to teams here, but strictly on the field, he's every bit a third-round pick. Anybody stick out to you, Traps?
Probably Isaiah Bond. I'm not quite on the Kyle Williams train that just blew up last week, where everyone loved him. Like, I like Kyle Williams. I think he's fine. I don't think he's like the second best receiver in this class or like someone worthy of going any higher than this. So maybe wide receiver isn't the biggest need, but if we were to go in that direction just to continue to prolong the prime of Lamar Jackson, Isaiah Bond, his speed ran 4.39. The route running ability is certainly there. That wouldn't have to come in and be like the guy right away. But in a few seasons, if Rashad Bateman isn't retained on a multi-year deal over the next few years, maybe Isaiah Bond moves into that wide receiver 2 role eventually.
Yeah, strictly in terms of productivity, he would be a great choice here. I like Kyle Williams too. I just don't like him this high. I think he's more early day 3 guy, and that's no disrespect to Kyle. That's just how deep this class is at that position. So let's go Isaiah Bond, because even if we circle back in the next round, I don't think he's going to be there. And let's see, producer Striker.
What about edge?
Oh, okay. Let's go edge. I was going to say edge. I was going to say safety, but let's go edge because
either one.
Yeah, we can do both and see who the best available is.
I'm just looking at their edge group with Kyle Van Noy, Tavius Robinson, Odafe Owe certainly came on. It's kind of a group that collectively the Ravens were just one of the stingiest defenses in football last season, but it really wasn't because of their pass rush.
I'm not sure if you're the Savion Jones guy.
I love Savion Jones.
Yeah, I thought that was you. This feels like a layup then, because no one has a higher motor in this draft class than Savion Jones.
He's 280. He's 280. He fits the prototype of what the Ravens have traditionally liked up front. I think that would make a lot of sense.
And again, another SEC guy. We're going 4 for 4 with the SEC guys here. You can't go wrong because of the level of competition that he faced.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, let's do it. I'm all on board with that, especially at this point.
All right. I'm not trying to just totally steer which positions, but yeah, let's go safety now. I think.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
You were suggesting that earlier, and that probably does make sense.
And by the way, Savion Jones at pick 129 feels like you're stealing.
Yeah, for sure.
Billy Bowman tested really well, and his tape got better as the season went on out of Oklahoma. I'll double check, and you can, if any other name.
He's Ardarius Washington-esque. I just do not like. He's everywhere. He's around the football. He's little, but he somehow is on every play. It's like, oh my God, there's Billy Bowman right next to it, but misses so many tackles. And I think it is not due to a lack of effort. It's the opposite of that. He just has short arms and he's not very big and he's kind of out of control. So if the Ravens feel like, hey, we have gotten the most out of a smaller nickel safety in Ardarius Washington, who was great for them as an undrafted guy, then this could be kind of the right range for Billy Bowman. I'm just not in a vacuum as high on him because of the missed tackles in college.
Yeah, I had him as an early day 3 guy. My comp was Dadrian Taylor-Demerson, who was also undersized and a little juiced up. Billy ran a 4.43, which gets your attention. And to your point, coming downhill, he's a firecracker. It's just sometimes the firecracker lacks target, able to lock onto targets, and he'll be a little out of control at times. So if we're not this, what pick is this? This is pick
136.
136. So we're at the bottom of the 4th round. Let me see. Just check real quick here.
I like Ransaw. He's the opposite of that. He tested well.
He tested to the roof. Yeah.
I think he played like kind of half corner, half safety. I don't know if I saw him miss a tackle all season. I mean, I didn't watch every single one of his snaps, but in my evaluation, I was like, man, this guy's little. I believe he transferred into Tulane from a smaller school.
Yep. Came from
Troy. And is kind of like the light version in terms of the hype of a Billy Bowman to me, and he's a better tackler. So maybe just based on the PFF ADP, this would be early. But if I'm just doing this, if I'm if I'm Eric DaCosta, I would lean Caleb Ransaw because he can play corner, and I think he gives you more tackling reliability than Billy Bowman.
So this is the bottom of the 4th. This is a comp pick. I had Caleb graded as bottom of the 4th.
There you go.
Pick 61% slot, 6% box. And he plays 30% near the line of scrimmage. My comp for him was Mike Hilton.
Good one.
but he runs a 4.33.
Yeah, he's fast. Exactly, man. He's
right.
a good player.
You talked me into it. Well done. All right, Caleb Ransaw it is. We finally leave the SEC, but get a great player in Caleb Ransaw. That's a good call there. All right. We're now into the 5th round comp picks before we hit the 6th and 7th round.
They always have like 500 comp picks. It's such a good job.
Yeah, no one does a better job than the Ravens in terms of letting players go and getting compensation in the draft as a result. All right, so we can go any number of directions here. Let's look at linebacker real quick because I want to see because there's some dudes at linebacker that can certainly should still be available. Man, Cody Simon feels like a Raven. I know you're a big Teddy Buchanan guy. I love
Buchanan. Yeah, I do. But Cody Simon feels a lot like Malik Harrison that was there for a while.
Yeah.
Kind of that old school thumper, but has kind of new age athleticism. So Cody Simon in round 5, he'd be someone that would be playing for them and, contributing with considerable snaps. And you look back and you think they picked him at 176. That's kind of how the Ravens have done it, filling in with cheap guys on the 3rd day of the draft who are good players like Cody Simon.
Yeah, good down the stretch for Ohio State. Had a good pro day. Let's go Cody Simon here, striker. And then the next 5 picks, we could literally trade back up into the 5th round and get a player, but we'll just go through it for the sake of conversation here. And we can do a bunch of best player availables, traps. We can do whatever you want. The world is your oyster when it comes to these last 5 picks.
What about running back? Just because I know, I love Keaton Mitchell. Justice Hill is just your consummate change of pace. Derrick Henry is great, but he is getting up there in age. We're kind of predicting that he's going to fall off every year, and he seemingly never does. But he is into his 30s now. I don't hate if there's a running back that you really like.
So let's do this. This is a good call because I've actually wondered, like if there's a running back even in like earlier rounds that they love, would they think about him? Mm-hmm. What about in terms of Derrick Henry? He's a eventual replacement. Maybe that is in 3 years, but. What about either Raheem Rocket Sanders or Ollie Gordon?
Well, Ollie Gordon is the closest size running back in this class to Derrick Henry. I think that would make a lot of sense because you wouldn't have to change your scheme too much going from Derrick Henry to Ollie Gordon. Thick tree trunk legs. He's not obviously Derrick Henry as a prospect, but that would make a lot of sense. You wouldn't even have to give him that many carries as a rookie, but maybe next year, 26, he starts to shoulder a bigger workload if Derrick Henry isn't getting the 250 to 300 carries per season.
Now, if you wanted to mix it up and get a guy with a little more juice, you could obviously Taj Brooks is there. I like LaQuinn Allen, our guy from Syracuse, who can certainly, I think he was targeted 60 times in the pass game this time around. But I'll let you, Woody Marks actually at USC is a good player. Corey Kiner's super juiced up out of Cincinnati. So that there are a ton of choices here. I'll let you have I'll let you turn in the card traps.
Okay, Taj Brooks and Rocket Sanders, I think I have graded a little higher than Ollie Gordon because he's just not very fast, but he is a load to bring to the turf. This would be all about just the scheme, the team, and the philosophy fit to be that mini heir apparent to Derrick Henry, just to get a big boulder of a back in Ollie Gordon.
All right, Ollie Gordon is at Oklahoma State. Love it.
4 picks, 3 in round 6, or 4 in round 6. Jeez.
Yeah, we're at the bottom of round 6 here, so go
How
crazy.
About deep tackle? Defensive line, I think. I mean, you have your Matabuke's, Broderick Washington, but I think just adding more beef up front. They seem to like the big, oversized
Travis Jones.
I think we got to pick your guy, Cam Jackson, Ryan.
Yeah, Cam Jackson fits the bill here.
I like him. He feels like a Raven, too, doesn't he? Like a Michael Pierce type Raven.
I like him more than seemingly anybody not in the Jackson family, so I'm happy to take him here in the 6th round. Done and done. Add some depth there behind Matabike and Travis Jones, Broderick Washington. All right. We're at pick 210 here. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Do you hate offensive tackle? Because
you never have
Rosengarten, Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley got re-signed, but is not 25 anymore. So I think to add – so Holland Pierce, to me, reminds me a lot of Orlando Brown when he came out, that he's not like super nimble, but he is just impossible to get around because he is enormous. So I wonder if – I know there's some new guys in that scouting room there in Baltimore, but I wonder if any of the holdovers from when they picked or Orlando Brown, and obviously Eric DeCosta would be chief among them, would be interested in him, especially this late at 210. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I have him graded as late 6th, early 7th, and he has 36-inch arms.
There you go. That's the Orlando Brown comp right there.
6'8", 36-inch arms. And by comparison, Will Campbell has 32-inch arms, or maybe 33-inch arms. So it's the full 3 inches difference.
Just a
Yeah.
developmental tackle at a position that's a little thin for the Ravens.
Yep. I called him. I said he looked like DeJuan Jones getting off the bus, considerably better versus the run, a real project in pass protection. And that's exactly how you described him. So, yep. At this point, you're taking projects that you can morph into potential spot starters if it gets to that point. All right.
Holland Pierce.
Holland Pierce it is. Up 2 more picks to go. 212 and then 243. You know what? I'm going to try to sell you on Sam Brown out of the U.
6'2",
200, ran 4.4. He's been to 3 different schools, West Virginia, Houston, and then the U. And I know he's had some off-field concerns, and some teams don't have him on the board. But right here, right now, he feels like a guy that can take advantage of an opportunity because of the athleticism. He actually had a really good pro day in Miami a few weeks ago. This feels like a flyer, and just take a chance and see what you got. But big, strong, physical wide receiver that gives you something a little different than, especially with juice down the field than what the wide receiver room currently has.
And especially at 212, like you said earlier with the Pierce pick, or just a minute ago with the Pierce pick, it's all about drafting those developmental guys. And Brown, good pro day, really good combine. I think it makes sense.
All right, 1 pick to go. 243. And they have Lamar Jackson and Cooper Rush and Devin Leary. Let's just see who the quarterbacks are real quick, and then we can go best player available. I just want to, just for fun. So there's no one here really that you would want to take a flyer on. Graham Mertz had a pretty good pro day, but he's coming off the ACL. Seth Hennigan, I like him more than most people on day 3 out of Memphis, but there's no reason to put him in a quarterback room where he doesn't even have a chance to make the roster, I don't think. So let's see what we have best player available, striker, and then perhaps I'll give you the floor.
Man, all skill guys. What about at this point, because we've had such a variety, we're gonna have to double up somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. We can
maybe. I wouldn't hate more on the D line. They feel like one of the teams that have so much depth every year and size along their defensive front. Is there anyone that sticks out here to you?
I'm a huge Nash Hudmacher fan.
That is like the most Raven guy that you could probably pick in the 7th round, because he like doesn't have gloves on. He looks like an oversized fullback playing there. That would make a lot of sense, just to add, again, they like the oversized defensive lineman. That's certain.
And he might be limited athletically, but his motor, he doesn't quit on plays. And, Ty Robinson, his teammate, will probably get drafted a couple of rounds before he does, if Nash gets drafted at all. But I was always impressed with the way he played and the way he approached. So, as a 7th round, almost Mr. Irrelevant, sign me up for some Nash Hudmacher. All right, man. That is a comprehensive draft. And it starts at the top with Trey Amos, cornerback help. Add more back-to-back years at cornerback in round 1. I'm okay with that. Tate Ratledge has a chance to be a day 1 starter at guard in round 2. Isaiah Bond on the field is every bit a 3rd-round pick and gives you even more juice at the wide receiver position. Savion Jones is a steal, it feels like, at this point in the 4th round, is the edge rusher. Caleb Ransaw, safety, 4.33, followed by Cody Simon, the linebacker at Ohio State. Great into the season, down the season stretch with the national title. And then, of course, his pro day was really good. Ollie Gordon, Derrick Henry, 2.0, best case scenario, but certainly get some depth in the running back room. Cam Jackson, add some depth along the defensive line. Holland Pierce is a project to tackle, but at late 6, that feels like a good place for him to go. Sam Brown is a juiced up, big target wide receiver, and then Nash Hudmacher rounds out the draft at the end of round 7. Nebraska defensive tackle. Yeah, man, 11 picks. All A pluses as far as I'm concerned. That wraps up the Perfect Ravens draft class. Make sure to subscribe to NFL on CBS on YouTube. Download with the first pick wherever you get your podcast. And stay tuned for more Perfect Mock Drafts, because we're hitting all 32 teams.